G'day everyone, I'm AzureBlaze, and welcome to a brand new, mini-series that is a part of one of my main series, which is my thoughts, something like that. It's a little bit complicated, however I think it'll work out. Anyway, yeah, this is another my thoughts on video. However, it's going to be done, not really a little bit differently, however, it's going to be done as a series of holes. And this first episode of it is going to be on Kirby's Dreamland. And basically my idea is I'm going to be marathoning through most of, if not all, the Kirby games. Hopefully all of them, however it depends if they release on the Switch or its successor by the time I get around to them. And I will be as well marathoning through the Mario games. Specifically, mainly the 2D ones, however I might do some 3D ones as well. And after I've finished each of those games, I'm going to start putting together my thoughts, script set of notes and all that sort of thing, and then maybe about once a month I will release a video on the next game that I was up to after the previous game in the marathon that I'm doing. That's a long-winded explanation, however, yeah. Therefore, yeah, I'm going to start with Kirby's Dreamland. That is the first game I started with in my little marathon, and Kirby's Dreamland is a Game Boy game from 1992. It is always in black and white because it was on the original Game Boy and all that sort of thing, and I think it's a pretty neat, I guess you could call it almost a tech demo of its length. However, I'll get to that in a moment. I am playing through most of these Kirby games without copy abilities, which is something I'm going to state right here near the start. I feel like I've never played through really any, I've never finished any Kirby game before Kirby's Dreamland, and I decided, before even hopping in, that I was like, you know what, I'm going to play without copy abilities. It doesn't apply to Dreamland because there's no copy abilities in it anyway. However, that will come into play later. Currently, where I'm actually up to playing, I am on Kirby's Adventure at the moment, and that has copy abilities and I haven't been using it, therefore, yeah. However, I'm going to go more into this game at the moment because that's what this video is about. And the first thing I sort of want to talk about is, the length and the ease of the game, which is, something Kirby's known for is its ease and all that sort of thing, and this first game, because it's on the Game Boy way back in 1992 and all that sort of thing, and I guess mainly because it was the first one in the series and all that sort of thing, it's not very long and it is fairly simple overall. I did actually have a little bit of trouble, however we'll get to that later, with one of the boss battles for a little while. However, yeah, I managed to figure all that out. For, I guess, a good idea at how long this game is, specifically, when I was going back in to get footage, the second time around I went back into the game mainly because I wanted to get footage and everything like that. I ended up basically playing through the whole, I ended up playing through the whole game again, minus the extra mode and all that sort of thing, which I never played in the first place. I played through the whole game again in under 30 minutes, and therefore I've got all my footage for it and everything like that. However, yeah, it's not a very long game, and because it's not a very long game, I think this might be the only video in this little mini-series, I guess, that I talk about each of the stages separately, which which I can do because there's only 5 stages. However, when games going further on get longer and all that sort of thing, I probably won't do that. However, yeah, I may as well start talking about all the stages in this game because I can. Stage 1, which is called Green Greens, which is hilarious considering it's a black and white on the Game Boy. The version I played, which was on Switch Online, did have some color added into it. However, it wasn't very green. I think I may have had some greens in it. However, it wasn't very green. However, yeah, no. Green Greens, great music. It's got that traditional Kirby theme that is always in a lot of the Kirby games and all that sort of thing. I think that's an amazing start to the series. Green Greens, it's always green things. Green Hill Zone and all that sort of thing. There's plains in Mario that tend to be green in a lot of their games and everything like that. Anyway, yeah, it's a nice start stage. It's fairly simple, as would be any normal stage. However, it's a Kirby game, therefore it is a little bit more simple anyway. And it ends off with a battle against Wispy Woods, which starts the long-running trend of Wispy Woods being in the Kirby games, and I think that is pretty funny. Stage 2, which is Castle Lololo, which, yeah, it's basically, it's a romp through a castle, as the stage name would sort of suggest. However, I think it's more the battle with Lololo and La, which are previous game characters that were brought into this game, which I think is a fun little reference. I found it a little bit awkward battling them, because you have to like jump up and down platforms while sucking in the blocks that they're carrying and make sure you don't get hit by them walking past and all that sort of thing. It's very doable and it isn't too bad. However, I did find it a little bit strange and awkward to get my head around trying to do that. However, yeah. Anyway, stage 3, Float Islands, probably my favorite named one. It's a charming little beach-like level, like floating in the ocean. I guess float islands could as well mean like in the sky if someone was saying float islands, like a floating island or something. However, yeah, it's like a little beach level. And then sort of at the end of it, I guess, that's when you get blown into the sky by a whale spout of all things, which I thought was hilarious. And then it's a very different boss battle against the blimp that I cannot remember the name of. I apologize for that. However, the blimp, there's a little interesting battle there where you like it's basically like Kirby always flying and firing out of his mouth at the blimp. Yeah, apologies, I can't remember his name. However, it does change up the gameplay a fair bit. Stage 4 is Bubbly Clouds, which because you've landed in the clouds and everything, you go through the clouds in a Sky Temple-like area, which is pretty neat, I feel. Although, and this is where I was saying I had some trouble with earlier, I had trouble with Krako, I think his name is. He's the cloud boss. I had some trouble with him on my first playthrough. Like, I kept losing to him, and I couldn't figure out the right timings and everything like that, and eventually I figured it out and everything like that. However, in the second playthrough, I didn't have much trouble with him at all, because by the time I got through him in my second playthrough of the game, I had already versed him in adventure as well, and I sort of worked out more what I was meant to do. I don't know, that's probably more of a me thing that I had trouble with that. However, that was interesting. And then stage 5 is Mount DDD. It stands out mainly for its cutscene, like landing straight in the castle area and all that sort of thing. Mount DDD is mainly a boss rush, where you go through the doors. Like, there's 4 doors for each of the bosses that have been battled already. You play through more like a truncated version of the levels that led up to them anyway. And yeah, you go through those little levels type areas, sort of truncated. I think there might be changes, however, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Anyway, yeah, you go through those different levels and then you end up at the boss battles. You defeat them, and once all 4 of them are done, you jump into the King DDD picture thing that's on the wall, and you battle DDD, which I think was a fun battle. And yeah, I think it was a fun battle. I found it was very similar to some of, like, I guess you could probably call them mini bosses that are found throughout the game and all that sort of thing, where like you have to run to either side and make sure to grab stars and all that sort of thing that fly out when DDD does his attacks and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think it was pretty good anyway. The one thing I must mention before going off this, I guess, is the final cutscene where Kirby grows massive and picks up the castle, which leads through the whole credits. That is hilarious. Honestly, I think that's probably one of the funniest cutscenes I've ever seen, and this was in a Game Boy game. I think that's pretty neat. Yeah, that's sort of all the stages. It is a pretty short game, as sort of said. There is an extra mode, as I sort of talked about earlier. I didn't play it, haven't played it at all. I understand that it's a little bit more difficult and all that sort of thing. However, like, personally, I'm quite content having played through the game twice now, I guess. And yeah, that's sort of where it is. I think, sort of overall, this little game is a good setup for the franchise. It contains a lot of what is in later entries, I guess, bar the copy abilities. Maybe it might be the... Yeah, it is very Kirby, like, straight away off the bat. It is almost exactly what Kirby is going on throughout the rest of his mainline games, minus very specific moves like copying abilities, which is a huge one, to be fair, that is missing. However, like, he doesn't have the slide or the sprint yet in the first game. However, like, he already had the ability to inhale things and, like, sort of fly using his inhale and everything like that. That sort of stuff was all there straight away in the first game, and I think... And then a lot of the enemies were as well, which I think is really neat. I think is such a good setup already. Yeah, therefore, I think it's a really charming, fun game, and a really good beginning to both the Kirby series and to the marathon that I'm doing. However, yeah, I believe that is all I really have to say on this game, because it is smaller. I think it was really fun to play through, and I'm really glad I played it. However, yeah, the next game up in this little marathon, depending... yeah, probably next month after this video goes up, another probably a month between them, I guess. Is the original Mario Bros, because I'm doing I'm going Kirby Mario, Kirby Mario, Kirby Mario. Yeah, therefore the next up game is the original original Mario Bros, and I am going to be doing the video on the original game and the All Stars version, both played on Switch. However, I played the All Stars version first and all that sort of thing. I'll get some more of that in that video. However, yeah, Kirby's Dreamland, really fun, little charming game. Not very long, however, that's fine. Yeah. However, I believe that is all from me in this episode. I hope everybody enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I shall be back in the next one. Cheers, everyone!